Nepal Restra Bank, and the Chief Executive Officer of the Investment Board of Nepal, and we will hear them shortly. We are also grateful to both ambassadors, to Dr. Anjan Shakia, the ambassador of Nepal to Israel, that will start soon in a minute this event. And I should tell you that on a personal base, I must say that we are lucky to have Dr. Shakia as the ambassador to Israel. Not only that she was a professor in the university and TV commentator, and with years of business experience, and even recently was awarded as the Diplomat of the Year. I'm sure that with her presence in Israel and with her know-how and experience in the past, we will see a meaningful development in the relations of both of our countries. And will be great to start this webinar with Dr. Shakia, and immediately after we will go to hear from our ambassador, the Israeli ambassador in Kathmandu, Hanan Goder. So please, Dr. Shakia.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, all of you. Mr. Alan Beer, Director of the Society for International Development and SID team also. Mr. Mahaprasad Adhikari, Governor of Nepal Rashtra Bank. Ambassador of Israel, His Excellency Hanan Goder, he is here with us. CEO of Investment Board Nepal, Mr. Sushil Bhatta. Ms. Anat Carmel, Senior Coordinator of Prime Minister's Office. Ms. Anat Bersen, Chairperson of Israel-Nepal Chamber of Commerce. Distinguished personalities, friends from media, ladies and gentlemen, Namaste, Shalom. It is my great pleasure to speak few words in this event. First of all, I would like to thank SID team, Israel, for organizing Directions and Opportunities Nepal webinar. This year is special as we are celebrating 60th anniversary of diplomatic relations between Nepal and the State of Israel. Nepal and Israel share a unique bond, representing the highest point on the earth, Mount Everest, and the lowest one, the Dead Sea, respectively. We have been enjoying excellent bilateral relations and nurturing it every time. Undoubtedly, we have been collaborating in diverse fields, such as agriculture, labor, education, culture, science and technology, health, tourism, trade, investment, technology transfer, and energy, among others. However, a number of potential areas are still to be explored. Nepal is one of the richest countries in the world in terms of natural environment and biodiversity due to its unique geographical position and latitudinal variation. The elevation of the country ranges from 59 meter to 8,848.86 meter above sea level. Nepal is a holy land where we have 10 World Heritage Sites, sacred birthplace of the Sakyamuni Buddha, the living goddess Kumari, marvelous landscape, archaeological wonders, 12 national parks, 3 wildlife reserves, conservation areas, hunting reserve, beautiful natural lakes, jungle safari, rafting, paragliding, canoeing, bungee jumping, etc. Furthermore, there are cable car connection up to hills for those who can't go for trekking but still want to enjoy the view from hilltops. Out of 10 highest peaks of the world, 8 are in Nepal, recognizing this country as the mountaineering hub. However, Nepal is more than mountains, Nepali food, and its ever-welcoming people with their smiling faces will make tourists keep coming back to Nepal. Realizing our country's slogan, Nepal once is not enough. In the recent days, Nepal's economic development is traveling a long path of prosperity. We are in a direction to achieve a speedy economic development. Nepal is progressing satisfactorily and is graduating soon from LDC status. Nepal government has formulated a number of financial laws such as Foreign Investment and Technology Transfer Act (FITA) for the creation of investment-friendly environment in the country. Besides, legislative arrangements, other structures and mechanisms are also established. For an instance, there is one-stop service center to minimize red tapes and simplify procedures so as to ensure effective coordination and one-door service. there are a number of policy reforms. I don't want to speak more here because in today's sessions, we have respected Mr. Mahaprasad Adhikari, Governor of Nepal Rashtra Bank, and respected Mr. Sushil Bhatta, CEO of Investment Board Nepal, to elaborate on these matters. Fortunately and coincidentally, respected Mahaprasad Adhikari was the former CEO of Investment Board Nepal. Nepal Rashtra Bank is the central bank of Nepal that formulates necessary monetary and fiscal policies, foreign exchange policies, regulates all the banks and financial institutions, and maintains healthy and efficient systems of payments. Investment Board Nepal is a central body chaired by the Prime Minister. It functions as the main government authority to mobilize and manage domestic resources and attract foreign investments. Since Israel is famous for its high tech industries, today's discussion can be very fruitful for us. It gets focused more on investment and technology transfer in Nepal. Once again, I would like to express my gratitude to SID Israel and our dear friend Nadav Ben Yehuda for bringing such events. These are really important for us. We had Honorable Foreign Minister of Nepal few days back on the occasion of annual conference of SID Israel. I believe we will be together time and again in this way. I wish the success of the webinar and get benefit the both sides. Thank you. Toda Rabba. Dhanyabad.
Thank you, Mrs. Ambassador. Always pleasure cooperating with you. And as you mentioned, it was great to have your foreign minister with us less than 2 weeks ago. And I think it was the great opportunity for Israelis to hear from your foreign minister. And now it will be great to hear from the Israeli ambassador to Kathmandu. And I must say that, Hanan, you know that I met once someone who was a Director General of the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, and before he was also the ambassador in Kathmandu. And he said that it was the best ever mission that he had, because this is the most beautiful place in the world. And even if it's up to him, this is the place to go back again and again. So I assume you are lucky.
I am very lucky. Thank you very much. I'm even privileged, and I agree with the beauty of the country. But the beauty of the country is not the beauty of the nature, but also the beauty of the people. And this is a lovely combination. Thank you, Ambassador, for your kind words. Let me take only one sentence from what you said. And you know, the slogan of tourism nowadays in Nepal is "once is not enough." I think I took it into practice, and this is actually my second term here in Nepal. And as people say, once is not enough, this is why I'm here again. For those of us that are more interested in economy, in investments, and in other aspects of what is happening now in Nepal, let me emphasize the changes that Nepal is going through the last years. And this is really a country in transformation, a society in transformation, and even an economy in transformation. Now, Nepali people look at themselves as a small country. It is not such a small country from an Israeli point of view. Nepal is a country of 30 million people with a growth which is dramatic in the last decade. Again, if we do not consider the last events of the corona, of the COVID, that will probably be over in a month or 2 or 3. So let's look about all the changes, dramatic changes that happened in the last decade in Nepal, the general atmosphere that is very much welcoming investments. And I think that this is going to be a great opportunity for those who are the first ones to enter this market, because this is a lovely market, again, as Ambassador mentioned, with a lot of treasures, human nature and other treasures. But another important treasure is the location. Nepal is located in the middle between one of the fastest and biggest emerging economies, between India and China. And the location here in the middle has a great advantage for any company that is operating from here. Let me wish everybody all the success, of course, to all my good Nepali friends. And I'm sure that the change is going to happen soon and fast. Thank you very much.
Mr. Ambassador, thank you very much. And can you hear me? Yeah. So thank you, Mr. Ambassador. And you know, this is before we'll go to our panel. I want to thank the Israeli Asia Chamber of Commerce who joined forces with us for this event, and of course to our friends from the Ministry of the Prime Minister Office and from the Ministry of Trade and Economy, Noah and Anat. And I think that this is the time to go directly into business, when I can say that from our point of view, our test will be when we will take those webinars and the fact that we are hearing about opportunities into a practical base, and at the end of the day we'll see actual cooperation on the ground between Israelis and Nepalian that will promote both economies and the challenges of both countries. So Noah, now it's your turn. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Alon. Great day, everybody. Thank you for joining us. Thank you, Ambassador to Nepal and Israel. It's an honor to be here with your presence, and thank you to the Israeli Ambassador for joining us today. I'm happy to start the special panel with participation of Mr. Parsada Adhikari, the Governor of Nepal, Basta Bank, Mr. Soshil Bhatta, Chief Executive Officer of the Nepali Investment Board, Mr. Hanan Goder, thank you for staying with us for the panel. Ms. Anat Carmel, the Prime Minister's office, our unique partnership with you is always great to have you here with us. Ms. Anat Bernstein, Chairperson of the Nepal-Israeli Chamber of Commerce. I would like to please open with a few remarks by the Governor. So please, Governor Adhikari, we're happy to hear you.
Thank you, Noah. Excellency Dr. Anjan Sakya, Ambassador Nepal to Israel. Namaskar. Excellency Mr. Hanan, Ambassador of Israel to Nepal. Dr. Sushil Bhatta, Chief Executive Officer of the Investment Board of Nepal. Ms. Anat Carmel, Senior Coordinator, Economy and Infrastructure, Prime Minister Office, Israel. Anat Bernstein, Chairperson of the Israel, India and Nepal Chamber of Commerce. Distinguished speaker and the panel, participant, guest, organizer of the webinar, ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon and good morning from Israel. It gives me an immense pleasure to participate in this webinar on the subject, direction and opportunity in Nepal. I'd like to thank the SID for organizing this event, and my special thanks goes to both the embassy, especially Excellency Dr. Anjan Sakya, extraordinary, who has been organizing such events and building a cooperation between two countries. I feel it a proud moment to share that the Nepal and Israel have passed 6 decades of diplomatic relationship since 1960. The mutual cooperation and friendship between us have expanded in various areas of development. We have been benefited from the Israeli support in the areas of economic cooperation, foreign employment, direct investment, trade and tourism. Notably, the Israeli cooperation in the field of agriculture, artificial insemination, irrigation, cooperative biotechnology, and farm machinery has been beneficial to farmers of Nepal. Nepal exports jute, carpet, woolen products, tobacco items, vegetable products to Israel, and imports non-alcoholic drinks, electronic machinery and equipment, and animal vaccines. Israel is also a popular destination among migrant workers in Nepal. Each year, Nepal also welcomes thousands of Israeli tourists. Nepal has a pride of being the part of the UN peacekeeping force in Israel in around 1970s and 80s. The close ties between us is a matter of celebration. Nepal and Israel have much to gain from mutual cooperation. The current cooperation and collaboration in the fields of agriculture, trade, and tourism should be enhanced further while exploring other areas of common interest. Sectors like infrastructure, hydropower, tourism in Nepal have much to offer. Investment in this sector will prove win-win for both the countries. Emerging fields like information technology and artificial intelligence could be the further areas of future cooperation. Nepal has been able to achieve concurrent growth of more than 7% during 2017, 2018, and 2019. The federal democratic Nepal has been impacted positively by the new constitution. However, Nepali economy suffered from the COVID-19 in 2020 as it has been impacted worldwide. Economic growth remained quite low and is expected to remain below the trend in 2021. However, remittance inflow and foreign resources mobilization by the government of Nepal largely supported us to keep macroeconomic fundamentals intact. Inflation moderated to 3.96% during the first 4 months of 2021. Merchandise export increased by 10%, while imports declined by 10%. Favorable current account and surplus in balance of payment have provided a cushion for financing imports and settle foreign obligations. On the financial front, deposit mobilization followed by the trend, while demand for credit was dampened due to the COVID-19. Quality of the bank assets, however, did not deteriorate significantly during this period, mainly supported by the regulatory relief provided by the Nepal Rashtra Bank. Nepal offers ample opportunity for foreign investors in the fields of hydropower, tourism, agriculture, infrastructure, technology, transport, and telecommunication. Lower wages cost and demographic dividends created by the huge working age population puts Nepal at the forefront for the foreign investor. Nepal and Nepal and Israel can work together to harness the demographic dividend that Nepal now has. The share of working age population stands at around 71.5% of the total population. Unemployment rates stand at 11.4%, with a higher rate of 13.1% among women. Among those unemployed, 69.1% of job seekers are among young people of age 15 to 34 years. Nepal geology consists of high Himalayas with 8 among 10 highest peaks in the world, hilly areas as well as low terrains. With lots of diversities, Nepal stands as home to large number of flora and fauna. Ladies and gentlemen, cooperation especially becomes important in these testing times of COVID-19. We know managing public health and economic setback due to the COVID-19 have been a Herculean task. Lockdowns and travel restrictions have taken a toll on the economic worldwide. International Monetary Fund projects global economy to contract sharply by around 4.4% in 2020, much worse than during the global financial crisis. The economic growth of Nepal remains largely stagnant in the last fiscal year. Nepal Rashtra Bank has allowed relaxation in provision requirement to banks and financial institutions with the objective of facilitating credit to the COVID-hit areas. Nepal Rashtra Bank has committed to the highest level of liquidity support and refinances facility to stimulate the economy. The pandemic has highlighted the importance of agriculture and manufacturing sector in the face of the crisis. Largest fraction of the people losing job in this pandemic is among those from service sector. Thus, the promotion of entrepreneurship and the development of production sector will be the highest policy priority in coming days to make economies resilient to unforeseen shocks. As the whole world is striving for economic recovery, policy dialogue, knowledge sharing, and economic cooperation between two countries would boost the recovery. The pandemic has also challenged public health in both the countries. The health sector could also be an opportunity where both countries can collaborate. Israel can aid in developing the medical infrastructure, pharma industries, medical supplies, medical education, diagnostic infrastructure, and research capabilities in Nepal. Nepal Rashtra Bank, Central Bank of Nepal is established with an objective of supporting economic growth and development by maintaining internal and external sector stability. Nepal Rashtra Bank is also responsible for financial sector stability, modernization of payment system, and broadening financial inclusion. Nepal Rashtra Bank would be very happy to work jointly with the Bank of Israel on different areas of central banking to contribute better to the macroeconomic. Nepal and Israel have plenty of areas like agriculture, infrastructure, as mentioned earlier, hydropower, information technology, trade, and tourism. Particularly, Israeli investors have much to gain from agriculture, manufacturing, infrastructure, hydropower, and tourism projects, where they could take advantage of Blue Ocean strategy. I encourage them to participate in our dream of building a prosperous Nepal and happy Nepali endeavor, along with the achievement of the sustainable development goals set by the United Nations. I conclude by re-emphasizing that Nepal has a great potential in the fields of agriculture, power, and tourism sector. There is a huge market in the vicinity. In addition, the country is ready to extend cooperation on the potential areas from the government as well as private sector level. I request all of you to join hands together to maximize benefit from our joint efforts for the mutual benefit. Thank you. Happy New Year 2021. Thank you.
Thank you very, very much, Governor Adhikari, for the very informative and in-depth review. We are happy to get a little bit more detailed a bit later in the panel. I would like to invite Mr. Bata to say a few opening remarks.
Thank you, Mr. Mahaprasad Adhikari, Governor, Nepal Rashtra Bank, Her Excellency, Dr. Anjan Sakya, Ambassador of Nepal to Israel, and His Excellency, Mr. Hanan Godar, Ambassador of Israel to Nepal, Ms. Anat Carmel, Senior Coordinator, Economy and Infrastructure, Prime Minister's Office, Ms. Anat, Chairperson of Israel-India Nepal Chamber of Commerce, and other distinguished delegates and guest organizers, that is SID, ladies and gentlemen, very good afternoon. Well, namaste as well. I would like to express my immense gratitude to be part of this important webinar today. Nepal has been maintaining a high cordial diplomatic relationship with Israel since 1960s. So the bilateral relations marked by mutual cooperations, goodwill, understanding, and friendships have expanded in various developmental and cooperation areas. So Israel is well known for its innovations and technological advancement in every field from agriculture to health and even technology. And I'm optimistic that this platform today will pave way for actual investments and technology transfer from Israel to Nepal. Well, on this note, let me start this my speech or keynote speech by, with the aid of this presentation, where I would be wanting to introduce Investment Board Nepal, and the general investment climate in Nepal. So vis-a-vis followed by reasons to invest and opportunities that Nepal holds. Well, Investment Board Nepal was established back in 2011 with an objective to fast track, mega investment projects that could transform Nepal. So it is high-level government entity chaired by Right Honorable Prime Minister himself and other key ministers as members of the board, even Planning Commission's Honorable Vice Chairman and Governor of Nepal's Central Bank himself is the member of the board, who was the former CEO of the Investment Board Nepal. And as per the law, IBN provides, FDI approval and manages project which investment sizes like over around 51 million US dollar, and the hydro projects which are above the rating capacity of 200 megawatts. So it's a fast track agency wherein we take care of, promotions, investment approvals of all those projects, covering above the size of those monetary values or vis-a-vis the rated capacity of the hydro power or energy projects. The board has been further strengthened by the enactment of PPPIA Act back in 2019, and as per the mandate of the law, IBN has become a nodal agency for managing PPP. And in addition to that, IBN is also responsible for executing investment promotion, and it functions to reach out to potential investors through various investment promotion platform. And I take this today's August gathering as an opportunity to showcase what opportunities we have here, which sectors have what priority it holds for national socio-economic development and project development, investment promotion, investment approval, and one-stop service, stakeholder coordination, and policy advocacy, among others, are the integral functions of the board. Well, just wanted to share some of the projects that are already facilitated by IBN and that are now under phase of construction. So if we talk about hydroelectric project, there's a flagship project, Arun 3, a 900 megawatt PPP project that has been implemented by Indian developer, and it's almost 40% complete. And this is where IBN has been complementing them by facilitating, and irrespective of that we are in COVID regime, the works at the site are moving in a full-fledged manner. Even the developers are all geared up to escalate the work by bringing in accelerated schedule. So things are moving, I would just want to say, in terms of, construction front. And moving back on the private investment front, we have cement project with the investment of around 359 million US dollar. Hongxi, a joint venture project between Chinese and a Nepali partner, producing 12,000 tons per day of cement per day. So the first phase of this project is already brought into commission back in 2018 and is already producing 6,000 tons per day of capacity. At the same time, the second phase of the project is very soon going to be commenced. And another cement project again is a JV between Nepali and Chinese developer, and it's hardly 30 kilometers away from Kathmandu. That is not only a political capital, but the economic capital as well, producing 3,000 tons of cement per day. And we anticipate the plant will come to the completion in upcoming March. So that is hardly after 3.5 months. In addition to that, we have number of projects across sectors, so that we usually showcase through our investment summits, and they are under various stages of development, such as study or procurement, or even at idea level. We have the list of projects with their comprehensive project concept note. So some of these projects could be an area of interest for Israeli investors to explore, and we'll be happy to deep dive and reconnect on specifics in the days ahead. Well, in terms of investment process, all the projects with foreign investment need to first apply for foreign investment approval. Depending on the size of investments, projects will either go to IBN, that is the earlier threshold that I mentioned, but projects below that is taken care by Department of Industry under the line agency Ministry of Industry, Commerce and Supplies. Well, now moving on, let me elaborate a little bit on why you should choose Nepal as your next investment destination. A lot more was actually already expressed by Mr. His Excellency, Mr. Hanan Godar. I totally just try to reiterate that we do locate Nepal is in a very strategic location between two potential markets. So it's not only for catering the domestic needs, but any establishment that we can have in Nepal will have a leverage of and market access to the two big potential market, namely India and China. So on the tax front, Nepal also has a very competitive tax rates in South Asian region. Even though the corporate tax rate is 25%, some priority sectors such as transport, energy, transmission lines, and manufacturing have only 20% corporate tax. Similarly, on the market front, as I have already told you, country enjoys access to the global market through WTO membership, and there are treaty of trade between Nepal and India. And similarly, Nepal also enjoys duty-free market access to China over, 8,000 products. So these are like these are this could be these are all highlighted in the latest revisions of investment guide. I would rather try to move into policy and legal reforms, as very rightly said by Her Excellency Dr. Anjan Sakya. There are a lot of reforms taking place, be it on policy front or on legal arrangements, or even for formulations of different procedures, directives. There are a lot of work going on, and we are totally in pursuit of continuously improving the doing business index, and vis-a-vis cost of doing business. There are a lot of things happening. Well, on overall, investment requirement, as per the study done by National Planning Commissions, it is very clearly outlined the role private sector, including foreign private, has to play in achieving socio-economic development in Nepal. The targets, be it plan target for next 5 years, or be it, achieving our vision of happy Nepali and prosperous Nepal, or prosperous Nepal and happy Nepali, and also vis-a-vis achievement of Sustainable Development Goal 2030. And there, the role of private sector, the need assessment, costing, and financing gap has already been done, and that gap has to be fulfilled by the direct investment or joint venture between the foreign and the local investors, and also by managing PPP in a very comprehensive manner. There could be many types of PPP that could be conceived, designed, and based on which a project can be developed, and solicitations can be taken place in near future. So IBN, I would want to ascertain that is doing its best in terms of ideating the projects for investors, so as we give a very clear picture of the opportunities which lies under each respective potential sectors. Well, accordingly, the 15th periodic plan, as I said, the costing is already mentioned, and government has that target. So I would not want to go much detail into it right now, but we have to, graduate to middle income country status by 2030. So government of Nepal is doing best to, create those associated infrastructure, be it broader border management or trade infrastructures, or even industrial infrastructures, be it development of industrial zones or states or districts or special economic zones. There are a lot of things happening, and it is in pipeline, and few are already in the phase of construction. Now moving on to the most important section, with the current stage of development, Nepal offers immense potential for investment in all sectors and in all ranges of investment. So I will briefly touch upon some of the sectors that might be of an interest for investors from Israel. Agriculture, there are a lot of, the geography, the topography, and water resources, and temporal conditions, and ample, supply of, labor gives a comparative advantage in agriculture production. So there is a lot Israel, the investors from Israel can bring in the best of technology in terms of, setting up agro processing industries, or even, introducing the state of art technology to commercialize agriculture and to make our value addition more productive. Well, on energy, Nepal is rich with water resources. We all are well familiar. We have an theoretical capacity to produce more than 43,000 megawatt. So not only for domestic consumption, then again I would say there are foreign market who are dire need of energy. So there could be one potential sector, not just limit to hydropower. There are room for solar schemes as well, and there is a lot of associated infrastructure in terms of integrated Nepal power system. Those extra high voltage transmission line and cross border transmission lines are in phase of completion. Few are in pipeline. On manufacturing, with decent population size in Nepal, with an advantage for Nepal as a least developing country, thereby providing easy market access to India and China that I told earlier. And on mines and minerals also, as on cement, we had a strong mine base. So with that comparative advantage, there were interventions made on producing cement. So that has now already gained competitive advantage, and those products are now into the market, and the people are also having the best benefit and leverage of the local production. So we are become almost in verge of becoming self dependent. And on health and education, as our respected governor has already said, there is a lot of room for super specialty hospitals, or bringing in technology for could be diagnostic centers, or even um, um, health tech products, um, assembling aspects and all that. There's broad range that could be an opportunity. On tourism, yes, a lot has to be done. We have natural beauty, but then at the same time there are things that we could conceive and think of in an integrated approach. It could be amusement parks or entertainment centers, or it could be the state of art facilities for tourists, so as we could hold them for long, and not only one time. They are retained as coming again and again to Nepal to explore its touristic beauties. And beside the ICT is one core area which is evolving as a prominent industry, which can we see we do have the young brains who are the comparative advantage, and IBN is looking in best possible manner to chart out a profile for this sector, identify all those IT verticals, and see how best we can design, plan a project for investment. And on transportation also, we are moving from the age of accessibility to mobility. So there is room for not only transport development or its subsectors, but also for transport management. There are a lot of opportunities. So I can go on and talk about potentials we have, but however, I'll have to stop here for now. But if you are interested, you can connect with us. We already have a pipeline of potential projects from various sectors. Also in our website, if you flip in through, we are trying to continuously improve our website, so as in pursuit of knowledge management portal, there is a lot been done. So very soon, I commit on behalf of the Investment Board of Nepal, you'll have a meaningful information on the websites. So, project open for investments, as I have already covered. I would like to thank the organizer of the program, SID, for this great management, and vis-a-vis for letting me put my remarks with the aid of presentation to showcase the opportunities that Nepal holds. With this, I would like to thank you once again and have a great day. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Bata. This was very, very interesting, and gives a lot of information and room for thoughts and strategic planning in the future. And we're going to dive a little bit more deeper a bit later. I would please like to go back to our respected governor. In your opening remarks, you've mentioned some of the opportunities and growing fields in Nepal. Could you please shortly mention what are the opportunities for investment and which sectors would be in focus of the government in light of the COVID?
Thank you once again for this very interesting question. Uh, if we see the government's policy and commitment, we have that FDI policy 2015, and we have several legal and policy reform related to investment. And if we see the recent data, 2016, 17, 18, 19, the investment, particularly the foreign direct investment, and the investor confidence is growing. It is improving. It is basically because of the new constitution we received, enacted. At the same time, the commitment government has made towards the private investment and also the foreign direct investment. If you see the trend of foreign investment, which is basically centered around hydropower, where our potential is very huge. Around 43,000 megawatt of economically viable hydropower energy can be generated within Nepal from the running river. At the same time, the manufacturing sector, where we are getting investment, basically for some of the interest we are receiving is for the assembly type of industry, and also the investment we are getting for the financial intermediation services, financial sector, communication, huge investment we are receiving. So these are some of the sector where the trend is there. And the country, those who are investing are normally the neighboring country, China, India, and also we are receiving from Europe, US as well. So this pandemic has brought to the fore of the importance of the agriculture further and easy access to health services. And the existence of a significant gap in our healthcare infrastructure shows that there is huge avenues and potential for the investment. At the same time, the cross-border investment in agriculture, tourism, education, and health sector of Nepal is one of the are some of the key areas for the investment. Thank you for the very interesting question.
Thank you very much, Governor. This is indeed a very interesting brief. I would like to take the question a bit further and address Mr. Bata. The governor have mentioned several sectors that has the potential to grow in the next few years. Among them, agriculture, health, information technology, and many more. From your point of view, what would you say are the financial tools available for project financing?
Well, getting back to the sectors, as very outrightly said by respected governor, there are a lot of sectors, be it energy or agriculture or health. So we demarcate them to energy and non-energy sectors. But coming back to the financial tools, there could be for green energy, there could be a lot of instruments. As of now, for private sector, financing window, we see those respective investors, they bring in their financiers. But in order to make a project viable, not all projects may be very lucrative or have high returns. So in that very case, that is where the financial instruments do play a very important role. So on that front, the hedging guideline is already been formulated, and vis-a-vis there are other instruments which are in pipeline of preparations. So so on a blended finance also, some project could have philanthropic support, and and there could be a concessional financing window also that could come up. So this is area where we are also exploring and trying best to see how best we can facilitate our investors and to see that the cost of financing is less and the risk sharing mechanism is also properly worked out. So this is where we are really working more. But on some sectors like energy, as I said, on cement and other non-energy, be it logistic parks or industrial districts, a lot of things are happening and things are moving in good directions. On areas where we want to really explore, there some homeworks are going on.
Thank you very, very much. I would like to please invite Mr. Godard. Godard, you've said very interesting opening words, and I would like to ask you from your perspective to briefly share what are the main challenges Israeli companies and organizations aiming to create business and collaborations with Nepal. As we've heard, there are many opportunities, and it's a very, very interesting market. But what were the challenges that you encountered?
Well, the challenges in Nepal, I think, are very similar to challenges for a foreigner that is encountering or trying to approach a new economy or a new system for his company. It takes time to adjust to the current situation in Nepal. But as I said earlier, the dramatic changes that I have seen, and I arrived in Nepal first time in 2011, to what I see nowadays is amazing, and I will explain what is the potential. The biggest change, actually I've seen a few changes, is the fact that Nepal has become, I should say, self-sufficient in terms of energy. And when I say energy, I mean electricity. Nepal was a country that had shortages, chronic shortages in supply of energy, of electricity, which meant that approximately 10 hours, 12 hours, 15 hours during the day, there was no electricity. A country without a regular supply every day, a country that cannot supply electricity, cannot develop industry, cannot develop banking system, cannot develop infrastructure. And in the last 3 or 4 or 5 years, there was a dramatic change. Nepal is self-sufficient, and let me, I'm known for my optimistic predictions. In a year or two, Nepal is going to become a net exporter of electricity. And it is going to be, and I know that it is going to be. Now, what does this mean? That several sectors are now beginning to emerge. And the challenges of an Israeli company and other companies, it doesn't matter where you come from, is to understand the situation here and to be the first one that is entering into solar energy, into agriculture, modern agriculture systems, into old age homes, into industry, where whatever field you will find out, you will be the first one that is coming inside. And this is the change that we see here. And these are the challenges and the opportunities for the Israeli companies that will find the way to enter to Nepal.
Thank you very much, Ambassador. It certainly appears that you are very familiar with the market and that you have been there for many years. I'm sure that you could confuse yourself sometimes with the locals as you acquired so much information about the place. We have with us Ms. Carmel from the Prime Minister's office. Anat, from your perspective, what could you share about the Israeli government strategy regarding the emerging markets, development of corporations, the diplomatic potential and economic advantages of the relationship with this market. And what are the action steps that the Israeli government is taking?
Thanks, Noah. So following, I think the opportunities are very clear by now, and they're very vast. With the Prime Minister's office, I'll try to describe a bit of our humble effort to promote Israeli activity in international development. We are coordinating an interministerial committee that its goal is to promote and advance Israeli activity and government activity in the field of development cooperation. We've been working on this strategy for almost 2 years, so it's broader than the recent events as related to coronavirus. And we recently published an interim report that details the entire strategy the government envisions, the committee envisions, as to how to promote Israeli activity. And I think there are several factors that make it very relevant for Nepal and for countries like Nepal. So the first is about the committee has selected several sectors in which we think it's most relevant for Israel to focus. And they were all mentioned here in previous presentations, that those would be about health and renewable energy and agriculture and agri-technologies and ICTs. So that's first of all already something that government is saying, that the committee is saying these are relevant areas. We think Israel has a lot to contribute, and clearly Israel and Nepal have already been collaborating on these topics. So that's first part. The second part is about the instruments and what kind of tools we bring. So Israel, as is well known, is not big on official development assistance. That's definitely not where we are, but this is also where our opportunity is, and which seems to align perfectly with Nepal's approach to development. Here, our opportunity is to bring in the private sector, both in terms of financing and in terms of collaboration. And so we have detailed in the report several tools that we are considering to increase financing for private firms to work in development cooperation. And at this point, I would like to urge everyone who's here on this call to take a look at the report, or at least at the executive summary, and give us comments about it, because we're very eager to receive comments for this interim report. I think there are challenges. We have identified multiple challenges in getting financing for development projects, and we would love to make sure that we offer the right solutions for them. Thank you.
Thank you very, very much, Anat. I would like to please address our next speaker, Ms. Bernstein. Anat, you represent the private sector, working at the Chamber of Commerce for many, many years, and your familiarity with Nepal and countries in Asia. What's your point of view on the economic potential between Israel and Nepal with regards to the sectors that were mentioned earlier? And maybe you could also address the issue of the COVID and the opportunities for collaborations that are available in light of these challenging times.
Thank you, Noah. And shalom, everyone. I'm pleased to be here today, and I'm very thrilled to see friends like Mr. Goder and Dr. Anjan. Hello, Mr. Sushil, and hello, Mahaprasad, and to you, Anat, as well. In my private eyes, or private sector eyes, From what I hear, we are far from achieving the potential. And as preparation for today's session, I looked at the statistics of Israel. And the Statistics Bureau lists all the bilateral trade between Israel and countries. And I looked at Asia.
Anat? Anat, you're cut off. Let's give her a few more seconds, maybe the connection.
Noah, can you hear me?
Yes, yes, please, could you repeat the two last sentences? You were breaking off.
Oh, okay, yeah, my network was not so good. I'll just a sec. Okay, I switched to my phone. What I'm saying is that, did you hear me talking about the statistics part?
No.
Okay, so you haven't heard me at all. So what I was saying, that towards preparation for today's session, I was looking at the Statistics Bureau table of bilateral trade. And what I found is scrolling down in the Asian countries, Nepal is not there. It is listed as other trade, and other means insignificant. And I'm here to blame all of us for not investing enough in our trade with Nepal. And the potential can be huge in the sense that with such a friendly nation, we should have more trade. And I know that both Dr. Anjan and Mr. Goder are investing a lot of time in promoting our bilateral trade. And so is our chamber, and so is our session today. And when I heard Mr. Sushil and Mr. Adikari, I think that we can definitely look at energy because we are good at solar and wind. We can definitely look at tourism, which is a natural trade between our two nations. But I think that agriculture should be the focus. I know that Moshav just recently announced opening an excellence center in Nepal, and this is great news because if you look at Nepal, situated between China and India, two nations with almost 3 billion people, okay? And they need to eat. And with Nepal capabilities and talent, they can be the food supplier of China and India. And that's where we should focus. And if I look at the audience today, I see that many people are in the agriculture space, and that's where we should invest our majority of our efforts. And the COVID came really not on time because last year I promised Dr. Anjan to bring a delegation of business people to Nepal because we can continue talking. And we signed, by the way, an MOU with the Nepal-Israel Chamber of Commerce last May. But we need to meet, and we need to create collaborations and distribution and have presence both in Nepal and in Israel to do business. And I gave my word to Hanan before he left to Nepal this time that we will come. And once this COVID ends, and I believe that towards third quarter or fourth quarter latest, we will bring a delegation, and I think it will be mostly agriculture companies to Nepal to see the opportunities, to sign agreements, to really get things going. And I take it personally that the trade is still very low, and the potential is there, the need is there, and many Israeli companies are experts in agriculture, let it be precision agricultures or all the new technologies from hydroponic to organic, to just name it. So from my take, we need to focus on agriculture. Of course, it's very encouraging to hear you, Mr. Goder, saying that Nepal is becoming self-efficient. And as you rightly said, soon they'll export electricity. And here we can come with our solar energy. Another thing that I wanted to mention is the new relations with the UAE and Gulf countries gives us another opportunity to reach Nepal, because now we can fly to Nepal, and that was a challenge till recently. Now we can fly to Nepal via Istanbul, via India with Air India, and it takes only an hour and a half from Delhi to Kathmandu. And the flight to Delhi is now only 6 hours. So the accessibility is better. And even via Istanbul, from Istanbul to Nepal, it's only 7.5 hours. So also to reach Nepal was a challenge until a few years back. So there is no excuse that we're not getting there. And it's only backpackers and Nadav Ben Yehuda that climbs those mountains. So thanks for having me here. It's very encouraging, and I salute you, SID, for initiating this session. And I hope that soon we will have another session of introduction to the Nepal-Israel Chamber of Commerce with concrete business opportunities between Israeli companies and Nepalese companies. In the chats, I gave the email of our chamber general manager, and I urge you to join our Israel-Nepal Chamber of Commerce, because together we can do more and we can create a community, a bigger community, I mean, of Nepal interested business.
Thank you very much, Anat. It definitely seems like there is a lot to do together. And I was looking at the chat, and it seems like the chat is sizzling. A lot of people are introducing themselves, and it seems like there's a lot of enthusiasm to keep the conversation going. So please, when you have a minute, you can address the chat and communicate with one another. And of course, Seed Israel is here to continue their relationship with all the participants. I would like to please go back to the governor, Governor Adikiri. In light of everything, all the interesting insights that were mentioned today, could you please address the potential for projects between Israel and Nepal? And what are the first steps that you recommend for Israeli companies and investors when looking into working with Nepal?
Thank you once again for the question. Yeah, the step is after the enactment of the amendment of the Foreign Investment and Technology Transfer Law, and also the enactment of the Public-Private Partnership and Investment Law, and the procedural aspect is spelled out into the bylaws, related bylaws. And the practice in recent year, we started to follow. It's quite clear. The first step, as I saw into the chat also, many entrepreneurs are interested to catch up, to have a business to business relation. First step would be to have a B2B relationship into Nepal, so that would help them to familiarize further and to invest in a big project as presented by the Mr. Bhatta earlier. there is due process which we need to follow. We can show our letter of intent if the investment and if the business is related to the private investment, then the process is a little bit simpler. If the business is related to invest into a public-private related partnership or a boot related project where the some of the natural resources of the government has to be utilized, then the process would be either to offer by the government. During that time you have to be bid it, or sometime even you can apply on an unsolicited manner as well. So you can establish your relationship with the government office and also with the related business partner here in Nepal for the investment. So that's the process. At the same time, I think as mentioned earlier by the Anat, or the Excellency Ambassador, both the side are very much active, proactive in this sense to build further business relation between two countries. So you can catch up respective embassy and get further information, data, etc., and start contacting the people. So that could be the first step. Within Nepal, we are here to support any foreign investor, foreign business people as a guest and as in a commercial basis as well. We have very clear institutional arrangement for the support to the facilitation to the investor. We have the investment board, high-powered board chaired by the Right Honorable Prime Minister himself. And also we have a dedicated one-stop service center at the Department of Industry that provides facilitation to the investor. From the financial sector side, we are here as a central banker, and we are very much accommodative to facilitate in terms of financing, in terms of even bringing finance from abroad. We allowed banks to borrow from abroad also. And we are here to have a very stable financial system which is intact, so that it can serve to the entrepreneur in a safe and sound manner for the economy. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Governor. This is indeed a very, very interesting and informative summary. And I'm sure there's a lot more to learn about Nepal, and the conversation will not end today. I would like to go back to Mr. Bata for a few closing remarks and tips. If you could please specify about the practical steps for Israeli firms and investors who want to engage with Nepal.
Thank you. Well, it was insightful session for the Office of Investment Board Nepal, and there are my colleagues also who are taking record of the best suggestions or way forward. So vis-a-vis, I would just want to say, as the respected governor has clearly outlined, there are two approaches. That is, one is foreign direct investment or public-private partnership. So when we talk on public-private partnership, there was a concern on financing instruments. So there are a lot we are trying best to prepare ourselves for concretizing attractive propositions that will come in near future. So there are two channels. One is under solicitation, we will go on which we are conceiving, ideating, and planning, designing, and developing some projects, bankable, credible, sustainable pipeline of projects, which will take a reasonable time. But we will come out with those attractive projects and which will go through solicitation, and it will have due process and procedures which will be predefined. And the investment guide will speak very clearly on the stages that are to be covered. But when it comes to attractive propositions, we are always open. So as very clearly demarcated, there are dedicated institutions. Let's say Office of the Investment Board will look into the proposals above 51 million US dollar, or if it is about renewable energy or energy projects, it will be catering projects above 200 megawatt. Below that will go to the areas of Department of Industry under Ministry of Industry, Commerce and Supplies. So on which, our website will very soon, I would say in numbers, let's say within 10 days from now, we will have a refined investment guide, which will capture the latest updates of existing, legal um, reforms, and vis-a-vis enriched procedures and flow of procedures will be mentioned. And regarding unsolicited proposals, we are always open. So the basically, it need not be that we have to await for, our bank, our project bank. There could be noble ideas already discussed by Ms. Anath from Israel Asia Chamber of Commerce. We could be a feeder to those potential market with immense population, and there could be some remarkable work can be done under agriculture sector. So on that, we would look forward to have those attractive proposals. And back end on our side, we would have to concretize the idea and do the value chain analysis and what, multiplier effect that investment through approval of such proposals can bring in to our socioeconomic development can be done, and a business case can be developed, and based on which, for unsolicited proposals, such attractive proposals coming, we do have a predefined procedures, and we would adhere to those procedures, and in a very fast track mode try to, give those required approvals or statutory clearances, for which, as central bank is also there, and other line agencies for with whom we have already predefined coordination framework, and based on which we would operate. So there are things that are already in place. I would suggest all um, interested investors to deep dive into our website and see what is available. And I will advise my team also to reach out to all the participants today with and keep them in the communication loop, and update with latest developments, be it in terms of preparations of financing instruments, or updation of the investment guides, which gives adequate and ample knowledge pertaining to the requirements that fulfills the requirement of any investors vying to invest in those respective sectors. So we are also trying to enrich our sectoral profiles, so which will speak more. And in days ahead, we'll have an outer face where we all can look into the comprehensive project concept notes, and we could even be able to trace at what stage of development those projects are, and when those projects are geared up for solicitation. So there also the investors can prepare themselves. So we are in phase of preparing projects. At the same time, there are other preparation going on with in retrospect to projects. For unsolicited, we are always open, and we have dedicated institutions. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Bata. I would like to address Mr. Godar. Could you please, from your point of view, add a few insights about the potential between Nepal and Israel relating to what was just mentioned by the governor and Mr. Bata?
You're on mute.
Excellency, you are mute.
Unmute. Okay. Okay, sorry. I want to give an emphasis or to point on a certain aspect of cooperation, of development and investment. For those Israel who are less aware, during the last years, we had thousands of Nepalis that participate in a project called Learn and Earn. These are young Nepalis that went to Israel. More than 3,000 of them have spent a year in Israel in a college and also experience in agricultural farms. These 3,000 youths at the age of 25 or 30 are familiar with the Israeli reality. When an Israeli investor or when an Israeli company would like to make a startup in agriculture in Nepal, they have a lovely audience of very capable people, young students or graduates that have experienced, that had the Israeli experience and can be partners for these investments. And again, they are all over the country, and this is amazing what we see nowadays already, the change that these young people are doing in the rural society, in the agricultural society, in all fields of investments. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Before we have our closing remarks by the ambassador, I would like to thank all the participants of the panels and Her Excellency Ambassador Shakia for taking the time to be with us here today. Governor Adhikari from the Bastra Bank, Mr. Social Bata of the Nepali Investment Office, His Excellency Mr. Hanan Goder, Ms. Anat Carmel, respected representative of the Prime Minister's Office, Ms. Anat Bernstein, the chairperson of the Nepal-Israel Chamber of Commerce. Thank you very much for being with us today. Thank you to Sid for organizing this unique opportunity. Sure, I'm going to give you the mic in a second. Just thanking all the people, and I would like to, of course, give you the honor of giving a few closing remarks. So please, Her Excellency, Ambassador Shakia.
Thank you, Noah. You presented, you moderate the program in an impressive way. Thank you so much. And the SID, the director of SID. And we are, Nepal Embassy, we are very much thankful to respected governor and CEO from Nepal. They expressed their presentation in an impressive way and very informative and very comprehensive. And thank you for their welcoming remarks. I hope that many Israelis who are very enthusiastic to listen from them, they are very much satisfied with their views, with their words, and they also understand from the words, from beautiful words from Anat, from Israel-Nepal Chamber of Commerce. He is very good friend of our, friend of mine and Nepal Embassy. And Ambassador Hanal also expressed in a very nice way how he felt there are so many changes he received after a few years when he was first in his term in Nepal, now his second term in Nepal again. So he saw also so much changes. So Nepal is in a positive way, in a developing way. As Anat also mentions that we are not in the list, so we are very much interested to request you to put Nepal in the list of that list what Anat just mentioned before. I hope that senior officials, Madam Anat from Prime Minister Office, she will also help us and she also welcomed and she is very positive to bring Israeli investors in Nepal. We are, as I mentioned before, that Nepal is moving towards developing countries from least developed countries. And in 2030, we will be reach in middle income countries. So to reach over there also, we need the good friendship, investment opportunities from Israel, as we are friends since 60 years before. We are celebrating this year 60 years of our diplomatic relations. So we have to put this friendship in this period, I think. And we have been receiving so many Israelis, investors, private sectors, they want to invest in agriculture. As we see in the chat box also, most of the Israelis, they want to invest in agriculture sector. And also IT sector, education sector, health sector, they want to invest. And also some airlines, they approached us to do direct flights. Why? Maybe they found some collaborations, interactions, communications between Nepal and Israel. They show some opportunities over there, and we talked with a few airlines. I hope that we will break through this direct flights, even not a few flights, but maybe we can start with charter flights. And in Nepal, we would like to mention here that we are in 30 million population. So we have semi-skilled, skilled and high skilled human resources. They are very much satisfied to work in not much high salary. You can get even in high skilled human resources in not so much high salary. So some investors from Israel, they already invested in IT sector, education sector in Nepal, and they hired some high skilled human resources in Nepal who work for Israel and US. So I also want to explore these ideas for other Israeli investors who can go to Nepal and work there. And there are so many multinational companies who are working in Nepal who benefited 200% per year. So if they can benefit there in Nepal, why can't Israeli investors can't benefit? So we would like to welcome you to Nepal to invest there and get benefit from those potential areas. I can also mention here, I would like to give some opportunities to importers of Israel to import Nepali goods from Nepal, because I heard that Israel imports from India and China. Why not from Nepal? If Nepal's import is quality based and less expensive, not expensive, then you can import from Nepal also. Nepal, we have organic tea, coffee, herbals, spices, carpet, even you can import niche food, vegetables, and we do have textiles, honey, very good tasty honey. We do have silver jewelries who Israeli women love a lot to wear, to put on in silver jewelries, and bamboo products we do have, and many others. These sectors you can bring Nepali goods to Israel. And I would like to organize another program for the importers of Israel. If you can organize this kind of program, this is very impressive. And also you can invest in hydro sectors, hydropower. And our respected governors already mentioned to establish financial sector. So if we can make connections between our banking sectors, this will also promote our investors, both sides, Nepal and Israeli investors, I hope so. So in IT sectors, communication sectors, energy sectors, and training based areas, what Ambassador Hanan also mentioned, in agriculture sector, you can also utilize our Nepali students who already went back to Nepal, as they are there, who can help Israeli investors in agriculture sector also. So we can do also joint research program here. And we are also talking with the health ministry. So we are trying to do health cooperation MOU between Nepal and Israel. So hope so in health, in hospitals, in hotels, many areas you can do investment in Nepal. And other, I would like to mention here, there are so many queries about agriculture sector. Now the FITA, we already opened for husbandry and dairy products. The last, the already amendment in this policy. So you are also welcome in this sector. Just we recently we improved, we did amendment in this policy. And also we do have one-stop service center. I already mentioned it is under industry ministry. So if you have any query, you can come to us. You all are welcome to our Nepal embassy, and we are here. We would like to cooperate you. We would like to give you the good information how you can go to Nepal to do investment and enjoy your in Nepal as well. Thank you so much for this wonderful webinar, and welcome you once again to Nepal. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Mrs. Ambassador. Thank you all for joining us. Thank you, Maria, for putting this event together. And I'm sure that the ambassador and all the other players here are happy to follow up. If you have questions or issues that you want to check, just let us know and we will make sure that it will reach the right people. And just before finishing, thank you, Nadav Ben Yehuda, for his ongoing efforts to strengthen the relations between the two countries. Thank you all.
Thank you. Goodbye.
Bye.
Thank you, Danyabad. Goodbye.
Dhanyavad.
Bye-bye.
Dhanyavad. Namaste. Thank you.
Excellencies Anjanji, Dhanyavad.
Dhanyavad, Hazur. Thank you so much.
Have a nice stay.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, everybody, and have a very, very happy New Year
Excellency
to all.
Anand, thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank
Dhanyabad.
you.
Stay safe.
Thank
Have a nice time,
you.
all of you. Nepal flag. Thank you so much, Leo.
In my office, of course. Thank you. We'll see you all soon.
Embassy.
Dhanyavad.
Just before he visited to Nepal embassy.
I was there 1 hour ago. It was a pleasure
Leo,
to
you are
meet.
most welcome. You are most welcome next month. At Muzman, you are most welcome.
Thank you. I will come. We'll set up a meeting, of course. I would love to sit down with you as well. Thank you. Toda Hanan.
Okay.
Thank you, everyone.